Welcome back, friends. We left off with the collegium, which is, I think, along with Sarah, she brought the school to my attention, and I'm so very glad she did. And so I wanted to share this with you. So then there are more familiar avenues of education, such as the Chesterton Academy. And, you know, they have their mission statement, their tuition. In the lowest area that I saw was 8,500. It is, depending on the more of an average, around 13,000. And I ran them, you know, it doesn't take long for that to become prohibitive for a large family.
Yep.
So it is faithful and beautiful and a community and all of that. But I'm not so sure, you know, it is a white
sustainable.
Base.
Right. It's hard to know whether that will be sustainable over the long haul.
Yes. Yeah. Then there's, of course, homeschooling, which Sarah and I engaged in. And that too has its challenges and benefits. And we went into that in some detail in our earlier shows. And public schools, especially, it seems, in my experience, which could be just anecdotal, but in my experience, particularly the rural ones. And that's where some of my grandchildren are. And then the charter schools, at least here in Texas, we have Great Hearts. And they are wonderful. Of course, that's a lottery. So,
yeah.
I had one former teacher in a rural setting tell me someone some administrator type wandered in and wanted to get rid of Merry Christmas and have happy holidays. And the other teachers got wind of it. They let the parents know, the parents let the principal know, and the principal let this person who wandered in that we are having Merry Christmas. Right. So you see what a tight mindset there is.
Right.
But that was that situation.
Right. I mean, I do think that in some I think that we have to be honest that we are at a crisis point for education.
Oh, I think so.
You know, yeah. I think that it expands to all elements of the human person, right? Our medical system is a shambles. Our educational system is a shambles. And even our police forces, right? I mean, but what's interesting about that is that all of those used to be predominantly run by either the church itself or by people who were faithful members of the church. And society, and what you had said before at the very beginning, right, in the Divini Ilius Magistri, that only the church is capable of being the true educator. That's it. And we have surrendered so much in terms of territory to a secular and atheistic structure that you know, I'm trying to think of how you said it before. Conventionalism, right? So conventionalism is always hated by the left until they establish the convention that they want to live on, right? So once they got rid of Catholic education, right? Once they got rid of Catholics in education, so you don't have your teaching brothers, you don't have your teaching sisters anymore. You have no orders that run whole schools, high schools, colleges. Once they're gone, right? And then the same thing with hospitals. Once you don't have the nuns and the brothers running these hospitals, then you can throw away all of the way that they had done things, the way that they cared for the human person, the way that they educated the human person. Oh, that's passe, until you get this indoctrinational convention, right? And then you guard it. And I think that that's where we're stuck. Like, I think even back to, like, I could see early stages of it when my nieces and nephews were young and they were coming out with the mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Every single thing that the kids would come home with, reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle. And it became so obvious to me that that was no longer educational, because then they would ask impertinent questions like, do your parents throw their trash all in one garbage bag? Right? So then you begin to out your parents. Oh, mom and dad, you're not throwing trash away correctly, right? So anytime that education begins to drive a wedge between what happens in the home and what happens in the school, it's always suspect. And we really, parents of children must make an assent to educate themselves so that they may educate their children. They must educate themselves because they have an obligation to educate their children, right? And because I think back to when my oldest, who's now 30, when he was young, and people when I was out in Northern Virginia were wondering, oh, what school are you going to put your kids in, or how are you getting your kids ready for preschool? And that always struck me as odd, because I thought, well, I mean, how much effort does it take to get my kid ready for preschool? But I started taking classes at the community college in Latin because I felt there was a defect in my own knowledge, and I thought I may actually have to help the kids with some of this someday. And so I spent the first 4 years of my kid's life, the first 5 years of my kid's life, educating myself, right? Reading the catechism that no one had ever read to me, studying Latin that no one had ever taught to me, really delving into grammar or mathematics again, digging out those books to find out what it was that I knew and what I didn't know. And nobody's going to do it for you. And we were saying this at the beginning, right? It's education is not, indoctrination is simple. If you don't care, put your kids wherever you want, because that's easy. But if you want educated children, it requires an immense amount of effort.
It does. It does. It requires effort for ourselves, as you rightly stated. I have listening to your journey. It's very similar to my own.
Right.
And it is a journey for our children. Another